You are listening to the Love and Confidence Podcast, episode number 120. Welcome to the Love and Confidence Podcast. If you're a woman who wants to feel more irresistible, have more fun, and create deeper and more authentic connections, this podcast is for you. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help you become the best and most confident version of yourself so you can attract the love life you desire. Let's get started. Hey there, welcome back. I hope you're good and in spite of everything going on in the world that you managed to get the best out of life. I am celebrating that as I'm recording this episode, which is early March, springtime is here in Paris. It feels like winter was so long and the rain would just never end. And now it's finally starting to warm up and the air feels mild and the light is so beautiful. I'm actually going to be traveling with my partner when this episode is being released, and I cannot wait to go on this vacation. It's been ages since I took a vacation of more than 4 days, and this time we're even going somewhere warm and exotic. I plan to post some photos over on Instagram, so if you want to know where we're going and you want to see some awesome photos, then go find me at Lærke the Love Coach. So, a few weeks ago, I talked about how our thoughts can become self fulfilling prophecies. And this was in the context of how to be more interesting and how we can make ourselves less interesting or more boring. If we constantly think, I'm not interesting enough, I have to be more interesting, he will think I'm a little bit boring. And I explained how this thought can become a self fulfilling prophecy. Today, I'm going to share something really cool with you because that is how to use the same principles of creating self fulfilling prophecies, but in the opposite direction, creating a positive self fulfilling prophecy by changing your mindset on purpose. And I'm going to share with you a 5-step process to do that. But first, I want to explain how it works when we believe a thought. What is the basis, really, of creating self fulfilling prophecies? When we have a thought, it will generate a feeling in us. And the feeling will always motivate a certain kind of behavior or action. And it can also be inaction. It can be not doing anything at all. And the sum of our actions and inactions, they lead to a result. And typically, this result will prove the thought right in one way or the other. So I'm going to give you an example. If you have a negative thought like, I am boring or I am too quiet, so you can ask yourself, how do you feel if you think I'm boring or I'm too quiet? You probably feel a little bit awkward. You feel insecure. And your actions or behavior would be to hold back in conversations, to avoid sharing your personal thoughts, and that will actually make you appear disengaged. And the result in the end will actually be that you show up in a way that maybe you would say is a little bit boring if you saw yourself from the outside. Because you are not engaging in other people, you are not being your authentic self, you're not sharing what's on your mind, you're holding back, you're censoring yourself, you're limiting yourself because you're so afraid of not being interesting enough. But how do you use this in a positive way then, without getting the feeling that you're just gaslighting yourself with toxic positivity? Well, it's basically creating a new belief, starting to believe something new, creating a new thought, and then making it happen. And you can do this in 5 steps. And the first step, of course, is to choose a thought. And here it's important to avoid having this feeling that you are lying to yourself or you are gaslighting yourself. You have to choose a thought that is believable, is something that feels like it could be true. You might not be 100% convinced, but it can't be something really far-fetched. It has to be something where, when you think about it, you actually tend to agree and you really want to believe this. Then you want to practice thinking this thought. That's a step number 2, and immerse yourself in the feeling you get when you think that thought. So really just sit and try to feel the thought. Try to focus on the thought and identify what do you feel, and then really allow yourself to feel it. And then step 3 is to show up as if you already believe the thought 100%. Even if you, for instance, you are only 80% or 75, you're not really fully in belief yet. You just act as if you are in belief. And step number 4, that is to find evidence that the thought is true. Look for the evidence that is actually true. I'm going to give you an example in a moment because I know this can be a little bit abstract. But the more you search for evidence, the more you search for the signs that this thought is true, the more evidence you will find. Your brain will find that for you, and that will reinforce your belief. And step number 5 is basically just you have to repeat again and again. Because we have to understand that if there's a certain thought that you have thought for a long time, you have a belief about something, it's almost like you have a 4-track highway where this is the track you normally take. It's like a neural pathway in your brain. This is the default way of thinking. And now you're creating a new pathway. You're creating a new belief. And that is a small path in the forest where you have to cut the bushes and try to walk the same path again and again many times before this becomes a real path that you would take by default. If it feels too far out and the only thought you can believe is negative, then what you want to do is try to make what we call a ladder thought. And that is a thought where you take just one step on the way. So you typically can't go from very negative to super positive. You have to take the step in between that is neutral. So you just take a step to neutral, you practice thinking that, and then later on, when that feels okay, you can stretch yourself a little bit and take a step from neutral to positive. And you can chop it up in many small pieces so that you can get closer and closer to believing the thought that you really want to believe, even if you're not in belief yet. Okay, so now I'm going to give you an example. If you imagine that one of the thoughts you have about dating is there are no good men in the dating apps. This I hear so often. People believe that they are not in the apps. All the guys in the apps, they are low effort. They do not take anything seriously. They do not answer messages. They do not follow up. And then all of a sudden they ghost you. Now, if we have a thought like this, there are no good men in the dating apps. How does that feel? Probably you will feel a little bit discouraged. You will not feel motivated. You will feel demotivated. And you might also feel frustrated when you sit with your phone and you open the app to try to see what's going on in there. So your feelings are very negative. Your actions or behavior, how would that be if we say that your most dominant feeling is frustration or hopelessness? You probably will just scroll quickly through some of the profiles and only notice the bad ones, only notice that it's true that there are no good men in the dating apps, and here we go again. So many weird profiles, and the ones that you started a conversation with, they haven't answered you. Maybe you won't actually notice the good men that are also there. You won't notice the good matches that you could, for instance, focus on. And in the end, the sum of these actions will create the result that basically is that you are definitely not able to find any good men in the dating apps. And in a way, you can say that proves this thought that there are no good men in the dating apps. But the only thing that you can say is a true result is that you haven't found them. You haven't been able to find the good men in the dating apps. So we can say this thought is not serving you. Whether it's true or not, it's not the question. It's not serving you. And if you then want to shift to, there are lots of good men in the dating apps, this could be one of these thoughts that just feel too far-fetched. It feels like too much of a stretch if you have been thinking the opposite for a while. And you won't get your brain to believe that. It will feel like you're forcing yourself to do something that's just not possible. So therefore, this is a thought that won't work for you. But then you could try to practice something in between. You could try to think of something a little bit more neutral, like new men join the app every day. We can say that's objectively true. There are new men who join the app every day. And that could mean that the apps are full of possibilities. There are possibilities in there because new people join. If you think the apps are full of possibilities and new men join the apps every day, what do you feel now? I hope that one of the feelings you get is curious, that maybe this would actually stimulate your curiosity and you think, I have to open the app now, I have to see who joined today. who are the new guys in the app. And so maybe your behavior would be opening the app with a fresh perspective, trying to look for the new ones, look for good matches, look for possibility, start noticing the good profiles, even if there are bad ones as well. Just notice more the good profiles and the good matches. And the result of that will, of course, be that now you are actually creating possibility for yourself. You are able to spot the good ones. You are creating something new for yourself. Whether that leads to finding the love of your life, that's a different story. But at the moment in this situation, you are creating possibility for yourself. And then you want to bit by bit add in evidence to your thought that this is true. So you focus on how many good men you see and you ignore the weird profiles. You only look at the ones that you believe are good. And you also notice that you didn't see those yesterday. So they are new men that have joined today or recently. And so it doesn't actually matter if there are 10 times as many bad profiles. As long as there's just one new good profile per day, then your belief is true. And then if this is the one you choose to give your attention and not the other ones that are not the kind of men you're looking for, then you will reinforce your belief that new men join the apps every day and the apps are full of possibilities. Another thought that you could choose to believe is, I'm in high demand among good men. Why not? Why not believe something like that? Who can prove you wrong? You can choose to think a lot of interesting men want a date with me. And if you think that, it will probably make you feel abundant. It will make you feel excited. It will make you feel appreciated. And when you open the app, you will show up as your best self. You will focus on only the men who show you interest. Not the ones who don't answer your messages, not the one who ghosts you, but focus on the ones who show you interest. And you will see all the signs that there are men out there who are interested in you. They want to get to know you. They want to go on a date with you. And you will see the signs that this is true. So instead of focusing on whether they answer exactly what you want to hear from them, you focus on whether they show any kind of initiative, whether they somehow seem to be interested in following up, in getting to know you, and writing you again and again. And then if you believe that a lot of interesting men want a date with you, of course, you will choose to say yes when you are getting invited, and you decide to be open when you go on a date. Now, this belief or thought will actually create a lot more possibility for you, and it will make you feel abundant. It will make you feel much more in control and much more valued when you are in the apps. So it's actually a thought that's working really well for you. And some of these thoughts, we can't actually prove them right or wrong. There are lots of good men in the dating apps, yes, and there are no good men in the dating apps, and some people will say that's true. I'm in high demand among good men. Can we prove it right? Can we prove it wrong? It doesn't really matter. What matters is what serves you the best, what brings you the energy that you need to show up as your best self and get the most out of the time you are in the apps, because why else would you want to be there? So you can choose a thought that you want to believe, and if it feels too far-fetched, then choose something in between, choose something more neutral. And you can also choose to add a sentence to the thought that you really want to believe. If you really want to believe that there are lots of good men in the dating apps, but it doesn't feel true to you, then you could add an intro such as, I'm becoming someone who's really good at spotting the good men in the dating apps. I know they're there, and I want to become really good at spotting them. So that could be a thought that feels a little bit more true, because it's that you are practicing noticing when you see them. So you can always choose to focus on the men who don't respond to your messages or have bad or weird profiles. And there's a lot of them, I agree. But that choice of focus will only reinforce the belief that there are no good men in the dating apps. So instead, you want to try to see all the weird profiles, try to just see them as background noise. Turn down the volume of that noise. Give less attention to the men that you don't want, and amplify your focus on the men who show up in the way you desire. Your brain will always look for what you train it to see. So make sure you programmed it to see possibility, abundance, and love rather than scarcity and frustration. By shifting your thoughts intentionally, you will start to experience dating in a whole new way. One in which you feel in control, you feel confident, and you feel excited about the possibilities ahead. So this was all I had for today, and I hope you found it useful. And I'll be back next week. And in the meantime, go do the Love Confidence quiz if you haven't done it yet. There's a link in the show notes. This is a fun quiz. It doesn't take more than 10 minutes, and it will give you an estimate of where you are in your level of feeling confident and secure in dating and relationships. And don't forget, no matter if you're single or not, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are important in this world. Have an amazing week and enjoy dating. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.